The letter arrived on a Tuesday, just as the last echoes of dawn faded across the skies of Ouagadougou. Ibrahim Traoré, alone in his modest office, sat with the envelope in his hands. The faint scent of ink and paper filled the air. He hadn't expected it. But there it was, an unexpected communication from the man he had only ever seen from afar, Barack Obama. The message inside held a single, simple line that would alter everything. The words read, "I believe in your vision for Africa. It's time we talked." Introduction and setup. The sun had already climbed above the horizon, casting a soft golden hue across the country's capital. Ibrahim stared at the letter as though it were an apparition, its crisp edges reflecting the dim light from his desk lamp. The world around him buzzed with the sounds of a city waking to its routine. But for him, everything felt frozen. The weight of the words, "It's time we talked," lingered, crushing the air from his lungs. He had grown accustomed to battle, not just the physical battles with foreign powers seeking to control his land, but the emotional ones too. Alone in his government office, Ibrahim looked out the window. His heart ached with memories of a country in turmoil, of desperate people who had yet to taste the fruits of freedom. The pressure of leadership weighed heavily on him, but it was this unexpected letter from the former President of the United States that posed a new and unprecedented challenge. He wasn't a man who trusted easily. Leaders came and went, promises made and broken. He had always believed that his fight was his own, that Africa's future was in the hands of its children, not in the hands of foreign politicians. And yet, this letter spoke to him in a way he had not anticipated. Conflict or challenge introduced Barack Obama's letter had been an enigma. On the surface, it appeared to be an endorsement. But Ibrahim knew better than to trust what met the eye. The letter was one more piece in the puzzle of global politics, a political maneuver perhaps, or a subtle attempt to sway him to a more Western-friendly stance. Ibrahim's life had been one of resistance, of fighting against the weight of external influence on his nation. His heart was torn between the principles that had guided his revolution and the rare opportunity for diplomacy that Obama's letter seemed to offer. That evening, Ibrahim's mind was a battlefield. The letter beckoned him towards a path of diplomacy, yet his spirit, forged in the heat of conflict, screamed for defiance. He wasn't one to play the political games of the West. Yet there was something in Obama's words, in the simple phrase, "We need to talk," that gnawed at his resolve. Maybe it was the deep-rooted respect he had for the former U.S. president's ability to speak with both clarity and empathy. Or maybe it was the recognition of a fellow leader who understood the complexities of power. Either way, this was no simple exchange, midpoint revelation, or twist. The answer arrived a week later, unannounced and unwelcome. Obama's words, now in Ibrahim's hands, cut deeper than any blade ever could. The former president didn't just offer diplomacy. He offered a challenge. "In your struggle, I see the remnants of our own fight for justice. But you must know, Ibrahim, that the world isn't ready for the change you seek. You must decide. Will you take the path of a revolutionary, or will you become the statesman we need?" Ibrahim stood up, the letter trembling in his hand. The air in the room seemed to change, as though the very essence of the world had shifted around him. Obama had placed him at a crossroads. On one hand, the future of Africa, in all its raw, unpolished potential. On the other, a path that promised temporary peace but at the cost of the soul of his revolution. He didn't need to think long. Ibrahim understood one thing above all. The fight for freedom could never be traded for promises of empty diplomacy. Climax. Emotional breakthrough. The night he sent his response, Ibrahim sat in the dimly lit room, alone but resolute. The paper in front of him was blank, but the words filled his mind. It was time to respond, to make his mark. This was not a moment for compromise, it was a moment for clarity. His pen scratched the paper, each word as deliberate as the next. "Barack, your message is heard, but I am no politician. My allegiance is to my people, to the vision that we have fought for. Africa's future is in our hands, and no amount of foreign intervention will change that. I respect your guidance, but our path must be our own." The letter was more than a rejection. It was a declaration, a symbol of his commitment, not only to the sovereignty of his nation, but to the legacy of those who had fought for it. It was not a diplomatic answer, but it was honest. And in that honesty, Ibrahim found a peace he hadn't expected: resolution and quiet closure. As dawn broke once more over Ouagadougou, Ibrahim sat back in his chair, the weight of the letter now gone. The response had been sent, and with it, a small piece of his soul had been given back to the revolution. The sun rose higher, the golden light now flooding his office, but Ibrahim remained in the quiet stillness of the moment. He knew the world might never understand his decision, but in his heart, he knew that it was the right one. Outside, the city continued on, unaware of the quiet battle that had just been fought. But for Ibrahim Traoré, this was the first step toward a future that could not be dictated by anyone but his own people. There would be no turning back now. Call to action for YouTube. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.